Radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
All right. Good evening. How you doing? It's Fade to Black. Today is Tuesday, April 8th, 2025. Let's do this, man. Yeah. I'm excited. Tonight, two of my favorite subjects, Egypt, Osiris, and DMT. That's right. Richard Voot is with us live from the United Kingdom. Last night, we kicked off the week with Ella LeBain with us, UFOs and End Times, an amazing conversation. And if you missed it, head over to our archives or the YouTube channel and check that out. Tonight, Richard is here. His friends call him Rick. All right. But he's here tonight. Tomorrow night, Mariah Meyer is with us. Dr. Mariah Meyer is with us. And we're going to talk about her searching for Bigfoot and the scientific side. And we're going to be doing all of that tomorrow night. And then Thursday night, Stephen Bassett is back with us. And we are going to talk about the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. What is it? And who is it? And all of that. And of course, he's an activist. He's a UFO activist. So we'll be talking about the latest updates out of Washington, D.C. as well. All right. Now, I have 4 events coming up, 4 major events. And the next one is in just 3 weeks, the Contact Modalities Expo. And this is May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, 2025 in Delavan, Wisconsin at Delavan Lake. Tickets are available. The links are below. Then I come out here for Contact in the Desert, May 29th through June 2nd, right here in Palm Springs, California. Then I head down to South America to Peru with Brian Forrester for the Inca celebration of the sun. That's right. It is the solstice, and we've got some special seatings for the celebration right there in Cusco. It's going to be amazing. Yeah, at Sacsayhuaman too as well. That is June 17th through the 27th, but it's sold out. All right, but we have a second tour coming up in November. You can sign up at hiddenincatours.com. And then I come back to the States for the Psi Games. Yeah, the Psi Games, the Psychic Olympics. I'm a game show host. And that is August 1st through the 3rd, 2025 in Charlottesville, Virginia. Again, the links are below. And tickets, information, speakers, scheduling for all of these events are below. So get your tickets and I'll see you out there in 2025. All right. Now, before we get the show started, I want to mention something. There's 2 Les Pauls sitting behind me tonight. There's this one, and there's, I moved the wrong way. And then there's this one. Okay. Now, both really nice Les Paul standards. And I was sitting in my living room. All of my Les Pauls, most of them are in the living room. And some are hanging, some are on stands. These 2 are on stands on the floor. And I'm sitting there looking at the guitars. They look, great sitting next to each other. They're both flame tops and gorgeous and so forth, play great. And I'm looking, I'm like, what is going on? And I noticed the way that the sun was coming in, the sun melted the pickup rings. Yeah. And I freaked out. Check this out. And I saw this beam of sunlight. This is a really nice Les Paul. Look at that. It's melted. It's drooping. And I freaked. I was like, oh, what? So that was it, man. Guitar. I have no room in here for guitars, but I definitely am not going to have melted pickup rings. So that one's a little droopy. That one's a lot droopy. Everything that was hanging or out of the sunlight, not droopy. Droopy pants. Oh man. So now I got to figure out what am I going to replace the pickup rings? I'm thinking, do I heat them up with like a hair dryer and kind of mold them back into place? What do? I don't want to take the originals off, but I may have to. Anyway, so that's why, and these, they're gorgeous guitars. Sunlight didn't affect the playing, but they melted the sun melted my pickup rings. So I'm going to have to move some non-pickup ring guitars. Oh, the drama of my day. Yeah. All right. So anyway, I just thought I'd let you guys. Now I can't, it's looks pretty good though. It looks good, but they're here because they have melted. Tonight, Richard Voot is with us. Now, I've called this show Osiris and DMT. All right. Now, tonight we're going to talk about Osiris, the story, the myth, the legend, the pop culture version, and maybe the Egyptology version of Osiris. But Richard's research into this as an allegory for the DMT experience. And I'm right there with him. So we're going to talk about DMT and what it is too as well. And I'm just going to do this. I'm going to bring Richard straight in. Richard, I would normally do a longer intro, but we're old friends.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah, let's leave it like that. It's been a minute since we have talked, but welcome back. It's great to see you. And I know it's very early in the morning over there in the United Kingdom. And just thank you for the time to be here. Okay. So what have you been up to? Let's just start there.
Thank you for the introduction, and thank you again for thank you for absolutely everything for this opportunity. And it's a very early morning in the UK. It's 3 a.m. Looking forward to a late night.
Wait. How did you watch the Japanese Grand Prix?
The Japanese Grand Prix?
Yeah.
I had no idea the Japanese Grand Prix was on.
Wait. You don't watch F1?
No, that's my brother's ballpark.
Oh, I thought to be a resident of Great Britain, of the United Kingdom, you had to have a favorite F1 driver. Don't you put that on your voter registration?
It's funny you should say that, because Lewis Hamilton he was born in the same town as me. So right. I might not have a fascinating interest in F1, but yeah, the main man is from my hometown. So
okay.
Huge salute, sir.
What's your opinion of him jumping from Mercedes to Ferrari? It's a pretty big deal. That was a pretty big deal.
You are, Jimmy. You are literally asking the wrong guy. I
can't believe this show just ended. It just ended just like that.
Fantastic. We will.
You're gonna have people. You're gonna have people in the UK come up and go, "Man, I saw you on Church. I saw you on Fade to Black. I heard about your lack of knowledge of F1. You're done."
Well, the shift into the DMT realm is a lot faster than than F1. I know that. I mean, it catapults you light speed.
I was talking with. Let's just jump into it. I was talking to a couple of friends a couple of weeks ago that wanted to know all about this DMT thing. And I'm trying to Because I think that a lot of people, think about the delay. You take a hit of pot and you've got to wait 10, 15 minutes, and are you going to feel, or whatever, right? There's a delay. But that's, people are used to that in the recreational world of having fun. But when I try to tell them that DMT is that fast, it doesn't even have time to get into your bloodstream.
It's a light
It's
switch.
like, no, it's like,
it's a reality switch.
Yeah. And they don't get that. And then when I go, and then when it's done, it's off. And what do you mean? I drove home 10 minutes later. What? You know what I mean? And they just don't get. So yeah, DMT is probably faster than shifting from first to second in an F1 car. It's like
Times
that
a million.
instant. Yeah.
Times a million. It's worldview shattering. It's absolutely worldview shattering. What is DMT? I mean, nobody really knows. Or let's say it's the world's most highly illicit psychedelic chemical compound, but it's hardwired to the human brain. We don't know whereabouts in the brain it's produced. It's hypothesized that it's possibly synthesized via the pineal gland.
Mm-hmm.
The hippocampus has the tools, the makeup, the DNA to create it. We know that it's in our eyes, it's in our lungs, it's in our cerebral spinal fluid. It's littered throughout nature. It's littered throughout the animal kingdom, but nobody knows why. Nobody knows why.
It's a fascinating aspect of it, because, like I said, recreationally, we all know what it's like when you take a pill or take a hit of something or whatever your thing, but you have to wait. Okay.
Yeah.
DMT's not a drug. I'm convinced that it's not. It can't be classified in that, because it doesn't have the time to enter your bloodstream. That it's instant. So, which means it's just a key. It's like, that's all it is. It's a key.
100% it's a key. It's a key to possibly understanding the possibilities of human consciousness, higher realms of multidimensional reality. It's a key to, crikey, in my books, I say that I wholeheartedly believe that the ancients understood this somewhat more virulently than we claim to understand it now. I mean, we're literally taking baby steps. We're in our infancy at the moment, but I sincerely believe that somebody somewhere had worked out the profoundness of this worldview shattering chemical compound that, as I say, is created by the human brain. What is it doing in our brain? You know, it's the most highly illicit chemical compound on the face of the planet, yet we're all carrying. And why is it in the human brain? And it's absolutely fascinating. Like you say, with regards to marijuana, with regards to taking a pill, it's none of the above. It's incomprehensible. We spoke off air before we even kicked off this conversation to the internet right now, that there's something there's something so incredibly powerful and mind-blowing about this chemical compound, and that it's hardwired to the human brain, that we might not actually possibly be able to, let's say, participate in
Process
waking.
it. Yeah, process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And growing up as, I guess, a child of the rave culture of the 90s. I mean, I'm 50 this year, and I don't know where the time's gone, crikey. But I thought I was privy to mind-bending chemical compounds, the rave culture. There was nothing I wasn't au fait with, if you know what I mean. And then
you and I are on the same page there.
DMT.
Okay? I'm not some. I haven't had fun for 30 years. Okay, but before that, 30 years and before, woo! Man, I often say I've done everything twice. Yeah, and so I do have a point of reference. Okay, I do. I have an honest point of reference, and so for those that think that you are going to have a euphoric high, right? What the holy grail of that's you're not high, you're not in bliss land, you're not. No. You are experiencing another world. That's it. You're going. I've tried to explain. I want your comment on this. I've tried to explain this to people, but I've explained it this way. You're in a hotel lobby. You go and you get on the elevator. You know you're in the hotel lobby. You press floor 2. The doors open. You're now it's like that. You step off into another environment. That's it. And that's what you are experiencing. It's not some crazy feeling and no, it's not that. It's just a visit to another world, another dimension that exists around us. And okay, check this out. Last year, on a Friday, I went into the Great Pyramid in Egypt by myself. Okay? Talk about special access. By myself. Pyramid's empty. I go up into the king's chamber. I've got about 20 minutes. Okay, that's what I got 20 minutes alone. I go into the king's chamber. I do my thing. I come out of the Great Pyramid and I fly back to LA. Okay. That night, I come back to Los Angeles and I come home. I go upstairs into my bedroom. I drop my bag. 24-hour flight, right? Okay. I go up and I drop my bags, and this is what I do. I'm alone in my house. I was in the Great King's Chamber today. Wow. Okay, that's what I did. Okay, in my room by myself. I just I couldn't do it on the airplane, right? You can't do it in the airport. You can't do it in the Uber coming home, right? But first I went straight. Okay, so first time I did DMT. Okay. I come up, this is 8 months ago. I drive home. Right? I come into my house. I go up into my bedroom and go, I went to another world. Oh, whoa. Oh my God. You know, and it was the same feeling. The same thing I experienced, you know, and that's what it is. And that only lasted, that DMT, 10 minutes. 10 minutes. It was mind blowing. It's just, so it's not a drug. It's not a drug. It's just a key. That's all. It's a tool.
100%. So I'm going to paraphrase here slightly. I have what I believe is my description of what DMT or where DMT might take you. And then I have literally 2 or 3 examples of famous quotes that have come back from Dr. Rick Strassman's volunteers. His famous.
Great stuff. I read a bunch of that. Okay, wait a minute. Hold that. Okay, no. I want you to hold that. Let's do, who is Osiris? Let's get that in, because I want you to describe all of that. And I want people thinking about Osiris, and then we're going to lead into the rest of the show. So let's do that first. DMT, man. Woo! It's going to be a minute before I take that e-ticket again. I can tell you that. Too much to unpack. It's too much. Okay, so Osiris, like I said at the beginning of the show, we kind of have three versions. We have the Egyptian mythology stories going back. We have the pop culture version. And then we have the Egyptologist version of Osiris. And then tonight we're going to talk about a fourth version. Okay, so let's start with that. Who is Osiris?
Osiris is the oldest surviving record of the, let's say, the proverbial loose air quotes, god of resurrection, which again links explicitly to DMT, because DMT, for want of a better description, science will actually tell you that it literally tricks the brain into a death-like state before rendering the practitioner somewhat resurrected with let's say new eyes in which to see the world, because it literally is a worldview shattering chemical compound. So the initial link straight away with regards to the myth of Osiris is let's kind of put a attack in the board with regards to resurrection, and a death-like state of mind, and a rebirth of your own take on what reality may, or loose air quotes again, may not be. Because it certainly appears that the DMT experience will render the practitioner almost hypnotized beyond belief by a world of indescribable, multidimensional, sentient entities that are almost familiar to you. That they're welcoming you back, as if to say, it's been a long time. It's been a long, hot minute, but welcome back. But at the same time, what are you doing here? It's not your time yet. You shouldn't be here right now. Which in itself is kind of a mixed bag of what does this mean? What on earth is going on? But the myth of Osiris initially comes down to, well, it starts whereby Osiris is invited by his brother, his let's say his evil twin, Seth, to a banquet where everybody is initially invited to lay down inside a beautifully ornate wooden coffer, albeit a coffin. And Seth says to the guests, please, let's one by one, let's lay down inside this beautiful coffer, and whoever it befits perfectly may in fact keep it. So guest by guest, one by one, they each decide to lie down inside this beautiful casket, all coming up either too long, too short, too tall, too thick, too fat, too thin, until the turn of Osiris. It fits him like a glove. It's the proverbial Cinderella, whoever this glass slipper fits shall indeed keep it. Which I think there's a loose allegory there with regards to the myth of Osiris in itself. But once Osiris is lying down inside this particular casket, to the guests' stunned amazement, Seth and his men decide to basically put a lid on top of the coffer, fasten it, pick up the coffer, take it down to the River Nile, where they set Osiris adrift on the River Nile. Now, this casket is adrift on the Nile for weeks on end, where it eventually runs aground in modern-day Lebanon, which back in the day was known as Byblos. But when it runs aground, it actually gets further entangled within a resplendent tamarisk tree. And Osiris is now locked inside this wooden casket, and he's now become entombed further within this tamarisk tree. And we know the the tamarisk tree is a variety of acacia. Now, Osiris's wife gets wind of this. She realizes where Osiris is, and she decides to speak to the king of Byblos, because the king of Byblos has had this tree now felled, and it's now been hung in his palace upon the walls, just like the Han Solo story in Star Wars, which again, there's allegories throughout Star Wars which extremely ring true with regards to these ancient Egyptian mythologies. But Isis, she bargains with the king of Byblos, whereby he agrees to set Osiris free. This enrages Seth, and Seth, for reasons unbeknownst to the rest of the mythology, decides to murder Osiris for a second time, whereby Osiris, he's now become assimilated and synonymous with the constellation of Orion. So what we have is two, let's say, proverbial conflicting narratives, because where Osiris was locked inside this casket, this tamarisk tree, he was known as the lifeblood of the acacia, albeit the sap of the acacia. But he's also known, as I said, as the constellation of Orion. So we have two conflicting statements here. Which one's true? Where is Osiris? Is he earthly bound? Is he hidden within the sap of the acacia? Or is he now a cosmological template of the constellation of Orion? We have let's say an as above, so below narrative here, because what we find is that within the molecular structure of the sap, albeit the lifeblood of the acacia, we find extremely high potentials of extractable DMT. And let's not forget that Isis extracted Osiris from within the acacia. So there's almost a nod or a proverbial point in the right direction with regards to joining these dots in an allegorical law, which is what I believe the ancients were actually trying to get across to us. Because what does the molecular structure of DMT and the constellation of Orion hold in common? And this is where my mind was forever blown, because I was watching the Rick Strassman documentary that was introduced by Joe Rogan, The Spirit Molecule. And when I saw the Spirit Molecule documentary, as I said, I was privy to the rave culture, chemical compounds, and what have you. But DMT was never on my radar. But after seeing the molecular structure of DMT on this particular documentary, The Spirit Molecule, I had the overriding feeling that it was familiar to me, that I'd seen this somewhere before. And I was racking my brain. It was driving me crazy. I've decided to hit the beach, roll a cigarette, look up at the stars, and just ponder what I just witnessed. What is DMT? Why is it so familiar to me? And then it was almost like a divine moment of inspiration from within the midst of one mind's eye. You know, the epiphany. Because the clouds literally parted on the beach, and there was Orion staring back at me. And my research from ancient Egyptian mythology and everything to do with Osiris just hit me like a ton of bricks. I was looking at Osiris in the sky, and it rendered a two-dimensional rendition of the molecular structure of DMT, the most profound as above, so below, that I still find hard to kind of reassemble and compartmentalize and pigeonhole and say, there's so much more to this mythology with regards to this as above, so below correlation. There's more to this myth than actually meets the eye.
It's strange how inspiration finds its way.
Absolutely. It? Absolutely.
So Osiris, okay, so let's get back to this really quick, because the end of the story is as fascinating as the beginning.
Sure.
Because Seth, jealous, pissed off, goes to town and chops him up, including and spreads his body parts around, and including his pee-pee. He chops off his pee-pee. It's a big part of the story. It sounds like I'm making a funny joke, but it's a big part of the story. So anyway, their mom, Isis, does the Frankenstein move, goes around and collects his body parts. You can jump in at any point. My version of the story is probably not as colorful as yours. But anyway, so she puts him back together and brings him back to life, including getting his pee-pee back in the right place, right? She does that too.
Phallus. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, but even though he comes back to life, he remains in the underworld as a god. But he was made a pharaoh. And that's the other part. He wore, when you see him depicted, I always found this strange. He's always green, green or blue. And he wears the crown of Upper Egypt when he's depicted. Not the full pharaoh hat, not the full pharaoh crown with Upper and Lower Egypt. That didn't start until Narmer in around 3000 BC. But anyway, that's a crazy part to this story, isn't it?
With regards to this ill-fitting cone-shaped crown of Upper Egypt and the green skin, it's completely different from most of the other anthropomorphic, deified, rabbit-headed, beetle-headed, crocodile-headed. Absolutely. But this is where the myth really starts to open your eyes. And again, there's a loose tongue-in-cheek allegory along with regards to eyes, because a traditional bust of Osiris with the green skin and the ill-fitting conical or cone-shaped adornment of the crown actually appears to be a cross-section of a photoreceptor of the human eye, and a photoreceptor that is also found within the pineal gland of the human brain, which is fascinating. It could be, let's say, a loose air quotes coincidence, but let's dissect the name Osiris. What does Osiris mean? OS has a plethora of meanings. It can mean open, and it can also, in the medical terminology, but it can also mean God. An iris is to do with the eyes, right? So we have a God eye or an open eye. So what we're witnessing is an allegory here describing again the profound nature of human brain anatomy, whereby DMT is in the eyes. Osiris is described as I said, the etymology is OS, God or open, and eye. But the oldest surviving sandstone stela that remains in I believe it's in Abydos in Egypt, excuse me, the cartouche that actually describes the pharaoh's name translates as seat of perception, which I find so significantly profound with regards to this mythology, this statement that Osiris may be likened to this chemical compound, a two-dimensional rendition of as above, so below, a correlation whereby this resurrected god of the afterlife, the gatekeeper to the proverbial underworld, everything that's associated with Osiris rings true with the so-called DMT experience. And it's absolutely fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating.
How do you, I've been working on this for a long time in my own research in my own head. How do you I mean, what's your theory? How do you resolve this kind of knowledge being used and utilized 5,000 years ago when we're just now trying to understand it today? But it appears that these ancient cultures, not only in Egypt, but in Peru and other, cultures around the world, had a firm grasp on this.
Absolutely.
How is that possible?
I think that's the $64,000 question. I still don't believe we understand what the pyramids are. We're told they're tombs. How can they be tombs? As far as we're aware, every single ancient pharaoh that's been discovered throughout the Nile Valley is not in a pyramid. The body of a pharaoh has never been found inside a pyramid. We have the Valley of the Kings, Tutankhamun, Ramesses. They're all buried somewhere else. Yet we're told that the pharaohs, megalomaniacal pharaohs,
Right.
were building these edifices that we would be stumped to build today in order just to house their body. It makes absolutely no sense for a civilization who documented everything in hieroglyphs, like everything. Their entire story is depicted upon the walls of Abydos, Edfu, the temples, absolutely everywhere. There's not one mention of the building or the construction of the last remaining wonder of the world.
Well, not only that, Rick, not only that, but I'll take it a step further. Not on papyrus, walls, temples, sculpture, anywhere. Okay. Is there any mention of how they built anything? Not a temple, not a column, not a stair, not a window, not a wall, not a block, nothing. Yep. The most, I mean, there are reasons why all of the great minds in all of the cultures in all of the world, in all of time, have all wanted to do one thing: go to Egypt and check out the temples and check out that's it. The pride of Egypt. Yeah. Not a word, not a thing, not anywhere of any construction. It's was it a state secret that they kept so secret that they didn't want to tell the world or show the world or preserve to the world how they got this stuff done? I don't know, but it's not anywhere. And back to your point, let's backtrack. Let's backpedal. The pharaohs, one after another, one dynasty after another, one period, Old Kingdom, Middle Kingdom, New Kingdom, everything for 3,000 years. 3,000 years. You know what every pharaoh did? Put his name up everywhere. Yep. Pulled down the name of somebody and inserted theirs everywhere, except where it mattered.
No, 100%.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. You're so right. Megalomaniac, egocentric, naming lights, except where it mattered.
It has to be functional, surely. It has to be functional. Yeah. It has to be, again, we know we have the Valley of the Kings, and the tombs are amazing. They're a beauty to see. They're a wonder. The inscriptions are mind-blowing. We have a sea of stars on the ceiling. We have stories about the pharaoh's life, and there's nothing inside the pyramids. Like,
have you been into KV-14?
KV-14. I have no idea.
Okay. Well, KV-14, I don't know the overall length and size of it, but if I was going to take a guess, I would say 300 to 400 feet underground, right? Just descent. But the tunnel is like 20 feet with the hallway and the stairs, 20 feet wide, probably 20 feet tall, all the way completely adorned, right? It's just so beautiful and so perfect. But you go down into the tomb itself, and there's 3 sarcophagus down there that have been exploded, by the way. That's pretty bizarre. But anyway, the size of it. And then you kind of go back and you look at the stairs, going back up to the Valley of the Kings, and you get the size and the scope. And this is one of 70 that are in the Valley of the Kings. It's like, it's insane.
It's unfathomable.
Yeah, but they have no problems painting their life story in there, carving it on the walls, making it perfect, except for where it matters. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, let's look at the Osirion as well. I mean, the Osirion in Abydos, that's significantly lacking in any inscriptions of any form or any kind. It's adjacent
like zero.
Exactly, and that's adjacent to Seti I temple, which is somewhat above the bedrock of the Osirion itself. And the Osirion would not look out of place in Tiwanaku in Bolivia. And let's not forget as well that, let's break down the word of Tiwanaku. Aku is an ancient Egyptian phonetic syllable that means light. So this particular construction with 0 inscriptions on, a hieroglyphs telling stories like you said, like the initial tombs in the King's Valley, there's nothing there. There's nothing bar the flower of life.
Yeah, the flower of life. Yeah, that's great. Okay, now let's not forget, I need everybody to wrap your head around this. To get to the Osirion, you must go up the sacred stairs of the King's List. Okay, so you walk past there's King's List throughout Abydos, by the way, the temple, but the one where the pharaohs would go to, and they would have this ceremony in this sacred hallway. It's incredible. And the King's List, one of the most complete. There are a few pharaohs missing, and they're omitted by intention. Okay, there's a few that aren't there. Cleopatra's not there, for example. But anyway, the King's List, and it's floor to ceiling, massive, beautiful. And you go out of that hallway, and you're looking down into the Osirion. That has nothing. So how do you go from that to nothing? And the Osirion is probably the biggest. I think the Osirion rivals the Great Pyramid.
100%.
It rivals.
100%. 100%.
It's that mind blowing.
It's unfathomable. I mean, considering it's built into bedrock as well.
Yeah. Well, they associate it to Seti because Seti's temple is here and here, and it must be Seti. No, you can see how old it is. Oh, by the way, when I was there last year, I'm there with the director of Abydos, and he goes, "Okay, Jimmy, I'm going to show you something. It's really cool." I'm like, "All right, okay." I get the secret stuff. Takes me up on the top of the hill. Okay, so here's the King's List. Osirion's in front of me, right? Okay, with the what do you call it? Railing, the railing. He takes me to the right, up on the top of this ridge, and he goes, "We found a second Osirion." I said, "What?" Yes, that's what they're digging right up there, and you could see the wheelbarrows.
Yeah.
Like 50 of them, all the workers are up there. And he said they think they found a third one beyond that. How crazy is that?
Yep.
It's insane.
It is insane. It is insane. It's a feat of ingenuity for a civilization that, Didn't even.
It
Really
doesn't make any. It's one of yeah. The Osirion, and we'll get back to Osiris, by the way, and DMT, but the Osirion, like Baalbek, or maybe even the Unfinished Obelisk, right, where you look and you go, all right, this is too big. It's too big. You know, you've got 2-ton blocks. Okay, we can kind of understand that. Okay, when you're looking at a 200, 300, 400 ton granite block that's 30 feet tall, 20 feet wide, perfectly carved, fat, smooth, and you're looking at that, and then you go, wow, there's 9 more. Right? Just like, what? What?
Absolutely.
You can't. No. How?
Absolutely.
How? Why? Yeah, it's crazy.
Why indeed? No, why indeed? Why indeed? And it's really quite strange, and we can touch on this later as well. But we actually have, crikey, there's 2 things I'd like to touch on. I mean, the flower of life itself, and you may agree, you may not, but every time I've done DMT and friends of mine have done DMT, there's what we call the proverbial breakthrough, they call it. And there's almost like a waiting room beforehand, which sounds really quite kind of bizarre, but for all intents and purposes, it appears that prior to this, let's say, proverbial waiting room or the breakthrough manifests, what appears to manifest before your eyes, before you get blasted at warp speed to an alternate reality, it appears that the flower of life starts to become visible and pixelate, and it's almost like a threshold whereby you're passing from our consensus reality to another interdimensional reality that seems familiar, that seems bizarre beyond comparison.
You're right. And so, but it's not a hallucination. That's the other thing. It's not a hallucination. The flower of life and that entrance to the breakthrough is real. Yeah. It's real. When I this how do I say this correctly? This rush of confirmation that came over me when I was driving home, and I was just trying to think about what just happened to me a half hour before, right? I'm driving home, and then it hit me. It was real.
Yeah. It was real.
It's not a hallucination. That really took a minute to sink in.
Yeah.
And so for people, man, what about, pink elephants and Dumbo? No, man, it's not unicorns. That's not it. No, that's recreational, fun, whatever you're doing at Burning Man stuff. This is not that.
If we consider the electromagnetic spectrum, I mean, what we call consensus reality, visible light, everyday waking life, where your guitar's hang, where my books sit, the electromagnetic spectrum, visible light, the percentage of visible light out of that 100% bandwidth is 0.0035% of the electromagnetic spectrum. Like, it's not even 1/100th of a percent. So when we introduce DMT past the blood-brain barrier with new eyes in which to see this world-shattering chemical compound that will literally take you to an alternate reality, it's like we're seeing or becoming privy to the remaining 99.9 recurring % of light that's actually on the spectrum that might not otherwise be privy to us in everyday waking reality, if that makes sense. It's such a thin sliver or slice of of what's out there, of what's around us. You know, the internet, everything that we plumb out on our phones, it's around us. It's in the ether. We can't see it, but we know it's there. You know, it's downloadable. It's like the DMT realm itself is that particular ether, the Akashic record.
It's a possibility. Well, you know, here's the other. I've got to give a shout out right now. I never do this on the show, but somebody just popped in the chat room that's never been here before. Joe Stopka. And Joe, look at my head. Look at my head. Look. Joe Stopka and I have been friends since we were kids, and we worked together with different companies over the years in the music industry. And he's always supported me and helped me. You know, I've supported him, but he's never dipped his toe in this world. Joe's a normie, but he's a hell of a guitar player. I'll give him that. Hey, Joe, eat your heart out, buddy. There you go. Look at that tasty little gem, huh, Joe? Huh? Joe's like, I got 10 of those. All right, so,
I picked up a guitar for the first time about 10 years ago. My best friend had been playing guitar without my knowledge for about 8 years. And I turned up at his house and saw a guitar sitting there. I was like, dude, are you flipping those? You're moving those on? You're making some money? He said, no, I've been playing. And I'm like, dude, seriously? Like, for how long? He said, 8 years. I'm like, you're my best friend. How do I not know this? And I thought,
you never know, man. Like, okay, so now Joe, you know, I've known Joe for over 35 years. This is 2025. Joe will have to help me out on this when we first met, but it was in the early 90s, sometime in there. And now Joe's about to crazy. He's going to say something like, no, man, I'm all about DMT in Egypt. Yeah, that's why I'm here. I saw the title of the show. I'm like, what? Joe and I used to be kids. Okay, I'm 61. So if I'm talking 35, almost 40 years ago, we met, you know, in our mid 20s. That's crazy. And here he is in the friggin' chat room. I've known this guy forever. Talk to him. Joe, put it up in the chat room. When did I call you last? I'm going to say 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. Called him up but he's that kind of friend. So there's the shout out. Joe, welcome. Okay, so back to this. In the 2 DMT experiences that I had, the first one, and it's funny that you brought this up, seemed to me, I'm going to keep this very brief, to be native feeling to North, Central, and South America. There was a vibe there. Okay, there was a vibe. There was things that I saw, things and that I was introduced to, and so forth. The second one, trip on this. Different but the same. Same entrance, same thing, same like you're talking about, breakthrough, boom, done. And I'm walking, my guide's in back of me talking to me. We round the corner and we cross this bridge over a river. It's night. I can see the cityscape in the background, like Tokyo lit up at night. And we come up to this dock to a boat. It's the Nile River. Yeah. And we get on the boat and we cruise up the Nile. And I stand on the railing, holding the railing like this, just hanging on, watching everything go by. And I'm kind of looking to the front, but it's the Nile. And there was this completely opposite of where I was taken the first time, which was definitely Central, South American, North American, that, you know what I mean? That native feeling.
Absolutely.
But the second one was Middle Eastern. And I heard there was this Middle Eastern elevator music Yeah, going on in the background. However, I want to try to describe what that sounded like, right? The drums, some
It's
kind of
impossible.
yeah. I don't know. But yeah, Middle Eastern themed music and world that I was taken to. Yeah, it was incredible.
It's interesting that you say that you felt as if you were somewhat.
Yeah. Oh, hold on, Christy. Same guide. Same guide. Did your guide, was it the same every time? Rick, your guide.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, I apologize. Sorry, I thought you were speaking to someone in the chat room.
No.
No, well, this is where I think everything is literally, it goes hand in hand with regards to the Mayan tree of life. The Mayan tree of life is a variety of acacia. Yeah, the Aztec tree of life, the Inca tree of life. It all comes down to, again, the acacia. The Aboriginal tree of life is the acacia. And for why? Like, for why? I think these proverbial hallmarks that appear worldwide with regards to construction templates, and let's say the chronology or the accepted mainstream timeline of the Mayans goes back 1,000 years. Ancient Egypt goes back 5,000, 6,000 years. So the mainstream mindset says they're unconnected, that they have nothing to do with each other. But rather intriguingly, I've revealed in my last book, Searching for Osiris and the Tree of Life, just touching on the pyramids and how your DMT experience reverberated to South America. I find this absolutely fascinating because the least talked about pyramid on the Giza Plateau is the Pyramid of Menkura. Okay, now the Pyramid of Menkura is thought to be dedicated to Horus, the falcon god, the son of Osiris. Okay, now the lower casing stones of said pyramid would not be out of place in Sacsayhuaman in Peru.
Not at all. I saw the same resemblance.
Now, this is where it gets extremely fascinating because Sacsayhuaman translates as place of the satisfied falcon.
Is that? No, don't make shit up.
It gets even crazier. Distance.
No. I'm going to be there next month. And now you just...
The distance between the Menkura Pyramid and Sacsayhuaman, these two Horus identifiable locations, is precisely 7,920 miles. That's the Earth's diameter, Jimmy.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Huh. How is that possible if they're unconnected?
Yeah, that's pretty strange. It
shouldn't be possible.
I also, okay. What's your take on this? And then I'll get us back. I promise. I have, because I've traveled as much as I've traveled, just like you, and you see things, right? And your brain, you just kind of plug it in and you remember it. And then you're somewhere else. You're 7,920 miles away, right? And you say, you're like, wait a minute. I just saw what? and it got to the point where I started taking pictures of this all around the world. I'm not going to get into specifics, but of things that are repeating.
Yeah. I
was just in Alaska a couple of months ago. Seeing it, I was like, what? You know, and how is it? Does it come from one teacher teaching this to everybody? Or were we transoceanic? Were we traveling the world and hanging out with other cultures 10,000 years ago? How is it possible that we can see the same icons, iconography, the same sculpture, the same ideas, the same architectural principles,
the same cosmology with regard to the tree
same
of life?
Same cosmology. I don't know about you, but I walk outside and look at the stars, I don't see shit. But apparently, ancient cultures saw the exact same thing. Yeah. And it was so important to them that they built temples to line up to it and carved it into the walls. The same things.
Absolutely.
Do you look up and see constellations? No, you don't. You might see Osiris, right? You can look up and see Orion. Okay, that's easy. But do you see 12 or 13 constellations rotate over the year? No, you don't. Do you see bears and scorpions? Do you see arrow? Do you see Pisces? Do you see that? But yet the ancients all did.
Exactly. And it's not
all the way back to Göbekli Tepe. It's on Göbekli Tepe, man.
Oh, after the break, let's talk about Göbekli Tepe, because there's some monumental measurements that come from Göbekli Tepe with regards to the Osirion, the Great Pyramid, and all sorts. It's almost terrifyingly mind-boggling, but someone somewhere had kind of put together an intrinsic pattern, a proverbial, let's join the dots in the sky. Let's follow the mythology as intended. And then what materializes in front of you becomes so profound, it's unbelievable. I'm not saying that there's a giant DMT molecule hidden in the heavens above us. I'm not saying that at all.
There might be. Yeah, there might be.
Well, who knows? Who knows? I think we're in our infancy of understanding a lot of this. I really do. But I think the clues are there.
I'm in my infancy too. Do you remember? Okay. All right. Then we'll take a break. Charlie Brown. There's a Charlie Brown connection here for me. Okay. In the old days on Charlie Brown, Lucy and Charlie would be lying in the grass looking at the clouds, right? And Lucy would go, wow, I see Washington crossing the Delaware in that cloud. And Charlie Brown would go, I see a dog. I see a puppy. Right? And that's me. I'm looking up at the I don't have, and I try. I've got all the star charts. I'm out there every night. I sky. Yeah. You know how much I skywatch. All I do is look at the sky. Yeah. But I'm blown away how different cultures can see the same things, a bear, a scorpion, you know, and that it was so important to them that they would carve it and they would mark it and they would align a temple to it and be able to see. Here's the thing. All right. This is my point. 5,000 years ago, before telescopes, obviously, we've only had telescopes for 400 years, right? 5,000 years ago, to mark the tilt of the earth and to get through the seasons over 72 years to get to 72 degrees, 1 degree per, you are putting a stick in the ground and marking the shadow.
Yeah.
Or every day for your life.
Yep.
Okay. And then you teach your son. And they do the same thing for their life. And then he teaches their son how to put a stick in the ground and measure that.
Yep.
And that's how that you can't look up at the sky and go, oh, the earth moved a 70th of a degree. No.
Yep.
No,
yep.
Now how, what? You know,
in order to stand the cycles of precession, which is 25,920 years, you have to have an understanding of 25,920 years worth of observation, right?
Now, repeat that. 25,000 years of your son. So how far back does it go? And that's the part. I'm Charlie Brown here.
Yeah.
You know,
the chronology of the ancient Egyptian pantheon as well. Actually, I mean, Egyptologists prefer to say that they understand the chronology of the timeline of ancient Egypt better than the Egyptians themselves. But the Egyptians should we actually sit up a little straighter and take note, say that, no, our civilization goes back some 36,000 years. So if they do, in fact, go back 36,000 years, that can maybe account for the cycle of precession and tracking the progression of the stars over a period of 25,920 years. But we're not allowed to entertain that in inside Egyptology. You know, it's a no-go area.
It's a no-go area for astronomers. It's a no-go area for astrophysicists. They don't want to go there. But yet, Egyptologists, the orthodox academic Egyptologists will say, the pyramids were not that technical. They were not that big of a deal. There is no math involved. They had ways of leveling. They had ways of pointing it to the north. No, it was, you know, you're not giving them enough credit. I'm just like, bullshit. You cannot tell me
we have an understanding. Yeah, we have an understanding that the pyramid itself is a hemispheric model of the Earth to a ratio of 43,200 to 1, which 100%. Is mind-boggling. And that number's arbitrary.
Hold on, we got to get to a break. So I'll say this: nobody was there. Period. So don't tell me it was this or this or this, and you want to state that as fact, because it's not fact.
Yeah,
it's not.
Again, we're in our infancy of understanding.
Yeah. My theory, your theory, let's put it all, whatever the ideas are there, but don't tell me that you are speaking fact, because you weren't there and it's not written anywhere.
100%.
Let's take our break. Go ahead.
No, I think it's just a good intersection for us to come back from the break, because as you stated, with regards to the Charlie Brown and Snoopy and looking up, with regards to faces in clouds and pareidolia, I've been victim of, let's say, online trolls saying it's faces in clouds, you're making it up, it's not there. But when we come back from the break, I'd like to start discussing sort of this template in the sky with some star names and following the mythology as I believe it was intended to play out, because there is a scientific, I believe there's an astronomical and scientific template with regards to this particular grouping of stars, Orion, and the names of the stars below Orion, which actually make this possible. And I look forward to dissecting that after the break, Jimmy. So
and I want to get back to Sacsayhuaman and Menkaura too as well, because I did see those similarities. Also, in the Osirion, if you look down at what I think is where they let water in, again, this is just my idea. I don't know. It's mechanical, whatever it is. But down in that entryway into the tube, everybody, you have to see it. It's like this 15-foot round tube, looks like a pipe. But there, the stones are curved into the corners, like Peru. Yeah. And it's the same corner work. It's unbelievable to see that. So anyway, we'll come back and deal with all of that. Our guest tonight, Richard RN Rick. You've got 3 names, man. You've got 3 names.
I've got a book name. Yeah. I've been called a lot worse. Trust me.
Is with us from the United Kingdom. I am your host, Jimmy Church. More with Rick when we come back after this short break. Stay with us.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get your alerts and access to over 2,000 videos. Click that subscribe button right now. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and get the Fade to Black official podcast. 2,000 episodes, all of them commercial free for just $2 a month. Watch Into the Vortex on Gaia TV. It's fade to black for the screen. Simple to do. Go to Gaia.com, search Jimmy Church, or click on the link below. Follow Fade to Black on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Get all of the show updates every single day. It's now called X, but who cares? How you doing? Jimmy Church here. Special announcement. Get your Fade to Black t-shirts. That's right. Help support the show. Help support everything that we do over here. We've got 2 t-shirts. We've got 2 ways to get them. Get your Fade to Black t-shirt today. Go Beckley Teppy. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and become a Fadernaut. Get a membership. That's right. Everything is commercial free. You have access to downloads, and you get to call yourself a Fadernaut.
Today we're headed to Bolivia, Tiahuanaco, Peru, and of course, Pumapunku. Brian, exciting. Thank you so much for everything, my friend.
Always an honor. Right behind us is the sacred river of the Inca that goes past Machu Picchu. So we're going to be driving up to its source at 15,000 feet above sea level and then down to Lake Titicaca.
So today we hit 15,000 feet.
Yes.
Crazy. And you can do it with us. All you have to do is go to hiddenincatours.com. Simple. We've got 2 tours coming up next year, one in June for the summer solstice, right? And then another one right here in November. So hiddenincatours.com. Come and hang out with Brian and I and his amazing team.
Right on.
River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com.
All right. Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Rick Voot is with us from the United Kingdom. Some call him RN, some call him Richard. Friends call him Rick. And tonight, we're talking about Osiris and DMT and the connection between the two of them and all of his research. And you can check out his books and everything that he is writing right now, too, as well, for Graham Hancock. And we've got the links below. All right, so let's get straight back to it. So, Rick, the celestial connection, which we were comparing this, I mean, for me, so many of us look up at the night sky and wonder and look. Well, the ancients did this too, but they were able to chronicle and preserve what they were interested in the sky and move that down to earth for us to unpack in the future. And so we are stuck today trying to get the answers to the mystery. And this is at different megalithic sites all around the world where we go in, we see that the story, the origin story, and something is preserved, but we're still trying to figure that out, aren't we?
Absolutely. I genuinely, it is definitely now my contention that somebody somewhere had worked out the profound significance of DMT, of where it is, albeit in our cerebral spinal fluid, our brains, our eyes, our lungs. And I believe that they've intentionally built, let's say, a breadcrumb trail, you know, to pick up the pieces and follow the proverbial dots in the sky and connect them as intended, because we have further to the myth of Osiris with regards to him being extracted and then somewhat resurrected, murdered for a second time, and becoming synonymous with the lifeblood, albeit the acacia, and the macrocosmic namesake, the constellation of Orion in the night sky. There's another mythology known as the myth of Abydos. And the myth of Abydos discusses how Osiris crossed the Nile on what is known as the cosmic barge. And the cosmic barge was known as the Neshmet, okay? And this is where I believe the proverbial pareidolia, the faces in the sky, kind of diminish with regards to what this template is essentially revealing to us. Because when I initially released the spirit in the sky, I had a couple of naysayers coming back to me saying, look, I can see the similarities between a two-dimensional rendition of the molecule of DMT and the two-dimensional structure of Osiris, albeit Orion in the night sky. But they would say to me, the bottom half of this particular macrocosmic template of DMT in the sky, it's somewhat ill-fitting, because the bottom half of the constellation of Orion is more of a trapezium, you know. We have the two main stars, albeit Osiris's feet, okay, or the feet of Orion. And I could wholeheartedly see what they were saying. It's close, but is it close enough for you to be right? So I looked into the mythology a little more, okay? And what I discovered was this particular mythology whereby Osiris is said to set foot upon this cosmic barge, the Neshmet, in order to cross the Nile. Something extremely profound became a lot clearer, let's say, because beneath the constellation of Orion, we have what is described today as Lepus, okay? And Lepus is Latin for rabbit or hare. So we have the constellation of Orion and the constellation of Lepus. Now, Osiris, when he sets foot upon this so-called cosmic barge, there's a clue there, cosmological. It's not a real boat, yeah. It's not a boat that did actually set sail on the Nile, because it's a cosmological template. But what we find is that when Osiris sets foot on the proverbial cosmic barge, the Neshmet, he becomes assimilated to a rabbit-headed deity known as Wenet or Unefa. So I find it extremely remarkable that the constellation whereby Osiris or Orion is actually standing above is actually the rabbit's head, okay? And we have two extremely significant stars hidden within the rabbit's head, within Unefa or Wenet, or the constellation of Lepus. Now, the first one is the brightest star. The brightest star in that particular constellation is actually described as Alpha Leporis, okay? The second star in the head of the rabbit, albeit Wenet, Osiris assimilated to the rabbit-headed deity, is actually, today we actually call it Mu Leporis, but the ancient Egyptians described it as the Neshmet, okay? So should we follow or join these proverbial dots as intended, like the mythology is saying, with regard to this macrocosmic template of Osiris in the sky? All of a sudden, the the ill-fitting trapezium for what I proposed was the original DMT molecule in the sky, the macrocosmic namesake of Osiris. When we actually open it up to the rabbit's head, as Osiris is assimilated to Wenet with a rabbit's head, we now complete the complete molecular structure of DMT. We now have what's known as the indol's benzene ring. Yeah. So it's more of a hexagonal shape, which is true to the molecular structure of DMT. And this only becomes possible when Osiris sets foot aboard the Neshmet. So we now have an almost perfect rendition of a two-dimensional molecular structure of DMT being portrayed in the sky above us. But it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there, because as soon as Osiris has assimilated into the deified godhead of Wenet or Unefa, he then becomes assimilated further into another godhead. And this godhead is known as Sahu. Okay. And Sahu is described as the overriding father of the gods. Okay. And he also has two other namesakes. He's known as the hidden one. And we know that DMT is somewhat hidden within the lifeblood of Osiris. But Sahu is also known as the beautiful renewal. And this is where the profundity of modern day science comes into reckoning with kind of hammering home this proverbial template, as above, so below. Because science is now telling us that DMT literally grows new neurological pathways in the brain. So it's like a genesis moment with regards to creating new neurological pathways. So not only is it hidden within the acacia, excuse me, but with regards to him being associated with rebirth and regeneration, it goes hand in hand with what the DMT molecule, what its job appears to be in the human brain, with promoting neurogenesis throughout the human brain.
Well, it's because the brain is seeing it for the first time, and it's got to build those pathways. It's the same process. I'm going to sound crazy here, okay? But when we are born, those pathways aren't set yet.
Sure.
Okay, so we're born. What do? We look at our mother's face. Pathways are set. That's a human face. That, the brain starts the world around, and as you grow up, everything is set in your. Okay, that's what a car does. That's what a house looks like. It's a window. You don't have to look at every window for the rest of your life and have to process it. You don't. That's what. And so when your brain first goes into this new world for the first time, it's got to program all that stuff. It's seeing it for the first time, like a child sees its mother's face for the first time. So you're absolutely right. All of that building has to take place. Every time you go back and experience it again and visit that world, those pathways are already built. Sure. So the experience is deeper. And how do I say it? Every time you go outside, you experience more and more and more, because everything is already there from the past. And it's the same thing with DMT, which is a key. That's all it is. It's a key. I keep saying that it's a tool. That's it. That's all it is. It's not, you're not going to get together with your frat bros and go, man, this weekend, man, let's do some DMT. No, that's not the situation here. But anyway, do you understand the metaphor that I'm using?
100%.
Yeah. When you're born,
100%.
you have to learn, and your brain's got to get programmed to the environment, and that's what
Absolutely.
happens when you visit another world with DMT.
And I think the likes of the research of Andrew Gallimore, the continuing DMTX research with regards to, I mean, he's made it extremely clear that the brain builds realities. You know, it builds our reality around us. But when we introduce extraneous DMT past the blood-brain barrier, all of a sudden our brain it knows how to construct this world. It knows how to build it. It takes us somewhere that it's somewhat familiar to a higher level of conscious understanding, somewhere dormant in our monkey brains, you know, that we don't really have the linguistics to kind of dissect and reevaluate in waking three-dimensional reality, because it's almost too much. You know, it's like being shown the proverbial tools to existence, becoming a point particle with the universe, with you become unified with almost like the source. And
well,
again,
is that what is happening? If we are talking about cosmic objects in the universe with an illustration or an image or a placement for us to see and make the connection back to the molecules of DMT, what does that say to you?
yeah, where do we take this? I mean, again, I said
Right.
prior to the break, we're still in our infancy of actually understanding what this whole chemical compound is. What's it doing littered throughout nature? What's it doing in our brains? Where would we be without it? You know, would we have the tools to perceive three-dimensional reality without it? Who knows? You know, it has to have a function within the human body, throughout the animal kingdom. You know, without it, we might not exist. We might not be able to communicate. It's again, we're tiptoeing towards a brighter, clearer understanding of what it may or may not be, but it's certainly not purely recreational.
People would be very bummed if they thought that this was some recreational thing, and that when they find out it's only 5 minutes.
It's crazy. And it's businessman's trip, you know, because as you said, you were cracking. You 5-10 minutes after your initial DMT experience, you're driving home on a lonely road, looking up at the stars, thinking, "My God, how was that even possible?" Just moments ago.
That's all I could think about. And
how is it possible? How do you quantify that?
Yeah. So my first experience, which again, when I go like this, that's how long it takes, right? So I'm having a conversation. Everything is, you know, and okay. And then boom, right? And immediately I've got a voice comes from behind me, and I go through this doorway down this path, and the voice, so my intention, let me get to that. My intention, which I set for about 2 weeks, 1 week solid every day, my intention was, show me what I need to tell the world. Okay, that's it. That's it. No daddy issues I need to work out or whatever, you know, heroin addiction, whatever. No. None of that. Just what do I need to see so I can just tell everybody about this experience? That was my intention. All right. So this voice, my guide behind me, female, a bit of an accent, but she goes just like this. She goes, okay, it's simple. As we go down, you have choices. You can go left, you can go right off of this path if you want, and we can check that out. or you can just stay on the path and go straight. It's up to you. Just like that. And I was like, cool. Okay. And we're moving, right? We're moving for, I never turned around and looked to see.
Red pill, blue pill.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, exactly. But I never turned around and looked at her. I talked to her the whole time, but I never turned around and looked. I don't understand why. I should have.
Mother ayahuasca.
Yeah,
a lot of people that I've spoken to are saying that there's an overriding feeling of like a motherly love,
feminine strength. It was amazing. Very, 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 very nonchalant, just very smooth. Very smooth. Okay, man, you can go left, you can go right. So anyway, we come down into this room, or going past like this, and it's hard to explain, but it's like glowing beige. Like if you had beige rocks that were lit up from the inside. Okay, like that, like glowing beige, not glowing pink or beige, but we go into this glowing beige room, and off to my right, it's in front of me, is a pedestal, and it's about 5 feet long, maybe 3 feet, 2 feet, 3 feet wide, 3 feet tall, beige, glowing, and it's a block, and it's sitting there. And so we're cruising, and I see it. So it catches my eye, and it's real, right? It's real. And I'm blown away, right? And it's just like anything, it's real. So I'm looking at it, and then out of the block comes this glowing series of bricks that are it's hard to explain. I have two different ways that I looked at this, but let's go with red glowing bricks, the size of bricks for your house. There's like 5, and they rise up out of the pedestal. Real, it's real. And I'm looking, and I was like, wow, okay. And it's starting to get past us. And as it's right here, it unfolds like this and comes out, and it's a jaguar head, like a silhouette made of these blocks. And the blocks had bricks, and red glowing, and it unfolds, and the front is this silhouette of a jaguar head. And I was like, I swear, this is my reaction. Oh shit. Whoa. And we're past it now. It's behind us. And I'm looking at it. And then I look forward, and I was like, whoa. And I think I turned around, and I looked at it again, and it was off in the distance. And I came back around, and that was so profound to me. This was not a hallucination. It's so hard. And I try to find the words to describe it. I can't. I just can't put it into words.
It's so hard coming back from the experience with regards to, it's almost like you have to put back on this ill-fitting, clammy meat suit.
Yeah, totally. Well, okay. So what was this? And there was more to this. I'm not going to get into it, but I asked to be shown what they wanted me to tell the world, and that's what they showed me. It's pretty profound. It was so simple and elegant and incredible all at the same time. Yeah, it was unbelievable to see. Okay, so now the second trip down the Nile, okay, on the boat. That was a half an hour long. That wasn't 5 minutes. It was 28 minutes. And lots of amazing things. But I'm going to say about halfway through that, I have no concept of time, but the spirit guide is behind me, talking to me the whole time. I'm asking questions and stuff. And I said to her, I go, all right, what about the robot elves? I want to meet them. That's what I said. But she goes, and all that I love, not now. And I didn't fight it. I was a little bummed, you know. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I was a little bummed, but she said, not now. Yeah. Yeah. I did see, I haven't told anybody about this except for the people involved. 2 people were on that boat with me. Yeah. And it was pretty weird. And one of them turned to me and said, "This is great." Just like that. And the next day, I called that person. Yeah, I did. I said, "Okay, I just want to know, did I pop in your head last night?
Yeah.
What happened?" I don't know what you're talking about. I said, "Well, I'm going to leave that right there." And I didn't pursue it. I didn't want to contaminate somebody's mind, you know, and have them imagine it or something. But they didn't. But how crazy would it have been if they would have said, "Yeah, man, I dreamed about you. We were on a boat." That would have blown my mind. But that didn't happen. And I had the same question with the other person about a month later. I didn't see that person for a while. About a month later, and I asked him, just no. But I don't know. Well, no, I'm not going to unpack the whole thing here. But I've thought about that a lot. Why those 2 people?
Yeah.
In the experience, I don't know.
And I think that might somewhere down the line become inherently important to the particular path in both of your lives. I'm sure there's going to be some kind of intersection, crossroads, whereby you might get that telephone call there where, they might have their own DMT experience somewhere down the road, you know, which might
have others, because I've read, thousands, and I'm not exaggerating here. Over the years, I've read thousands of people's accounts of their experiences. And I see a lot of consistency.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of paintings and stuff. And I see the consistency in the artwork, which I love, by the way. The artwork is just, it's very accurate.
It's mind-blowing itself. Sure.
Yeah. I don't know how to explain it. But has anybody talked about Osiris? In a DMT experience?
Some of the deified carvings and golden ingots that we find scattered throughout pre-Columbia, some of the artifacts there, I've got examples of them in my book. In fact, I'll try to pull up a very, very quick example, if I may. For one... It's almost like there's an overriding template of what these things may or may not be. But what we have is there's a couple of famous artists that have done their best to. I mean, these are artists that have no real interest in ancient mythology, ancient cosmologies. The history of the Americas or the Nile Valley, and they're drawing renditions of what they believe are these godheads, these deities that they seem to be communing with when they're actually on their DMT experience. And I don't know how well you may or may not be able to see some of these.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, keep it up. Keep it up there. Let me do this. No, let me do this. No, let me do this. Okay, let me move you back here. There we go. Okay.
And just at the bottom too, it appears that these artists are actually drawing the same
deified godheads that are, all these artifacts that are being dug up all across the Americas. And it's extremely revealing as well, because a lot of these ancient pre-Columbian, albeit Mayan as well, cultures actually have the same cosmological template of as what's going on in ancient Egypt, but their extraction actually comes from what's known as Anadentrina columbrina, which is a particular seed which, like the acacia, has extremely high potentials of extractable N,N-dimethyltryptamine, DMT. And it's like they're documenting their own profound experiences of these otherworldly sentient godheads. And it shouldn't make any sense. I mean, in Tiwanaku, we have what's known as, I think it's called the Ponce monolith. That's, again, they look like, almost like was it Earthaman from
yeah, I have pictures. I have pictures of it here. I show it all the time
from ancient Anatolia, and it's now come to light that these particular deities, these monoliths, are actually holding what are described as snuff trays and tubes in which to ingest the crushed vilca seeds that are extracted from the Anadentrina columbrina. And it's like again that they're showing us a way to, let's say, access the gods, whatever they, I mean, I think gods is a loaded term, if I'm completely honest. I'm not religious myself, but after having a DMT experience, I certainly believe that it's not fade to black when we're gone, you know, that there is something else higher. There is more to this conscious experience than actually meets the eye, you know. How can so many cosmologies be wrong? Because in the southern hemisphere, the most prolific constellation to the ancients was known as the Southern Crux, or the Cross, and they liken that particular cross to their tree of life. It's where they get the there we go. That's the Ponce monolith holding the snuff tray and tubes or what have you. So they're giving us the tools to find out where these gods reside, I guess. But this particular constellation, the Southern Crux, which they believe corresponds to their tree of life, the brightest star in that particular constellation is called Mimosa. Now, it's from the Mimosa is where we get the DMT extraction for the Amazonian brew, ayahuasca, which, as you know, is a far more prolonged DMT experience than the inhalation of extracted crystals, which will take, as you say, from 8 to 15 minutes, and it's past the blood-brain barrier. You're trying to describe to other people around you where you've been, what it was, who you was communing with, what was communing with you, and why it was all so strangely so familiar, but yet so otherworldly. It's so hard to verbal. I mean, I'm having trouble now, you know, trying to verbalize the profundity of what this other realm of, I guess, conscious existence has, and it is literally a knock on the door away, like you say, with regards to a turn of the key. You know, why are these guys trying to show us how to access these particular gods, have the same cosmological template. They're naming their stars after the significance of an extraction from their tree of life, yet they're also sharing construction hallmarks and templates which make no sense in the mainstream chronology of the human timeline. You know, why do the bottom casing stones of the Menkura pyramid reflect exactly what we see? I mean, it's not like, oh, it looks kind of close. They're the same. You know, we see the same nubs. What are the nubs about? You know, it's a mosaic of construction ingenuity that shouldn't exist 7,920 miles apart, away from each other, you know. And why is the Menkura pyramid dedicated to Horus, the falcon god? Why does Saxe-Horman translate as place of the satisfied falcon? Why is this monumental measurement exactly the diameter of the earth? You know, we have an undisclosed or an undeciphered script in the Indus Valley, which we see repeat again as the Rongo script on Easter Island. But again, if we decide to do measurements, we find out that Easter Island is the antipode of the Indus Valley, where the Harappan script is. How is that
the language
possible?
and a language that is lost in time?
Exactly.
That's the other part,
Exactly.
that you can look at it. And I remember Robert Schock telling me about this probably 10, 12 years ago, going, look, man, I look at the scripts and they're the same. You know, there's not the same, but there are symbols that are identical.
Yeah.
That are beyond coincidence. And so what is actually going on here? But then you throw in the other part. It's never been translated.
No.
It's never been translated after all these years.
And it's mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. How can they share the same script, the same, I mean, it's not a carbon copy, as you say, but it's darn close, you know? And why does one location to the other typify the antipode of the location on the face of the planet? You know? Talking about,
have you seen going back to Saxe-Horman and Egypt, have you seen the wall on Easter Island?
Yep.
Okay. You look at that, and and it is identical to Cusco.
Yep.
And, you know, different sites around Peru and Bolivia, the construction techniques, the precision, all right? And then you take that and then you look at the way things are done in Egypt, the similarities. But this is supposedly a Polynesian culture isolated on an island without human contact. So how explain that to me? And you can't. Nobody was there. The language is undeciphered and not translated, but yet we see the identical construction techniques. To say that they're from Polynesia, and you go, you know, 1,000 miles away and 900 miles away into Peru, and see the same identical construction techniques, and that they didn't have a connection to South America.
It makes no sense. It makes. I mean, I've got a 7-year-old son, and if I'm trying to describe that to my son's going to say, "Dad, they're the same. What are you talking about?" I mean,
exactly.
It's obvious. It's obvious, and so many different construction templates are so astonishing, especially when we start to look at the measurements between them. I'm sure I think he's been on your show, Freddie Silver, an amazing researcher.
Yeah, he's
and
great.
I'm not sure which book the that he discusses this, but he says that Göbekli Tepe itself has an even more archaic ancient Armenian name, which is Port Asar. And Port Asar,
he's brought that up. I've talked about that a lot. We have a couple of friends, Armenian friends, that have done all that research, and he's been sharing that research. And what it shows you is that the Armenian culture is much, much older than, and nobody, I don't want to sound like a dick, but nobody cares, right? Nobody cares. People, yes, I understand Egypt and Greece and Rome. I get that. And Stonehenge. I understand. I'm fascinated with it too. But Karahunj in Armenia is probably the craziest megalithic site in the world. And nobody even...
Darren Kuyu shouldn't exist, you know? It's
that too.
Like, what?
It's another good example.
But with regards to these measurements, I mean, if Freddie Silver is correct in stating that the ancient Armenian name of Göbekli Tepe is Port Asar, I mean, the oldest construction on the face of the planet, going back to probably pre-flood, pre-ice age, 10,000 BC. That's Osiris identifiable. Yeah. So we now have the Osirion, which is Osiris identifiable. The construction techniques don't fit in with the rest of ancient Egypt. There's a possibility that the Osirion itself could be 12,000 years old to 10,000 BC. But if we actually draw a line from Göbekli Tepe to the Osirion, it's 864 miles. Now the sun's diameter is 864,000 miles. The midway point between Göbekli Tepe, albeit Port Asar, the umbilical of Osiris, and the Osirion is Mount Zion, Jerusalem. Okay, and the halfway mark is 432 miles, and it's at Temple Mount where Muhammad was said to have his ascension to the heavens, where Jesus transfigured into the light. It's the same place that is known as Luz, which means light. It's the same place where Jacob witnessed the face of God and survived, and he called that place Peniel. We find out that the pineal gland is the light receptor of the body. And there's so many. How many coincidences do we need until we can actually say there's a verifiable correlation that we need to follow and wake up and actually listen to what our ancestors were trying to tell us? Because there seems to be a very easily digestible template with regards to what the ancients were doing. You know, how can we have the same cosmology with regards to the tree of life, the same fundamental extraction from this tree of life, albeit a secretion that might come from the pineal gland, the light receptor of the body, that is that gives you an indescribable experience of overriding love, and that there's something after this particular life is over. You know, they all seem to be singing from the same proverbial hymn sheet, and I find it kind of ironic that the crosshairs between Göbekli Tepe, Port Asar, and the Osirion being Mount Zion, Temple Rock, albeit Peniel, that they're trying to show us something, and mainstream archaeology and historians don't want to entertain that, and it's unfathomable.
You know,
it's unfathomable.
To your point, I've done this. I did this on my TV show. Take a globe of the Earth. Take a piece of string. Start at Easter Island. Take this string and go up to Cairo. Go to Giza, right? Stretch it across the globe. And then continue on a straight line. Where does it end? Göbekli Tepe.
Yeah, Göbekli Tepe. You keep wrapping it around, it'll pass through Angkor Wat.
I know.
It's like an old equator. Why is the Earth tilted? Why is there a shift? I mean, there's so many questions that spin out that come from this.
So I wrap the string around and tape it down, and I started writing down sites that are on this line. It's insane.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Mind-blowing.
So I was absolutely fascinated with Google Earth and just to have that at your fingertips, you know. I mean, it's been hypothesized sort of some 15, almost, probably about 20 years ago now by George, I can't remember his last name, and Natalia, the name's from, I'm having a brain fart with it. But they were the first people to discuss the likes of the recat structure as a template for Atlantis. Okay, now if we actually look at the template of the most famed ancient site here in the UK, Stonehenge, there's a lot of similarities there. But if you actually draw a line on Google Earth from the center of the recat structure to the center of Stonehenge, it's precisely 111,111.11 arc seconds of measurement.
No, you're making shit up again, man. You're just making stuff up. Richard, it's been too long, my friend. This has just been a great conversation tonight. And where can everybody chase you down and keep up with all of your work?
I'm currently in the middle of building a website, but I'm most interactive on Twitter at the minute. My handles, I'm hoping maybe linked at the bottom with some of my, articles on Graham Hancock's website. You can find me on Twitter, on YouTube. It's not the easiest name to pronounce, Vooght, Voot. But yeah, if you just put us into any search engine on Google, and you'll find all my pages and the rest of my research. And come say what's going on. Come and look at these books and find out more and join the party, you know, because I genuinely believe that everyone holds a very small piece of a larger picture, and should people like ourselves start putting these pieces together, I think that we're going to have a rather profound and significant answer to where we're come from and possibly where we're headed. So
thank you for all that you do, man.
Thank you, sir. It's been an absolute pleasure.
I don't want to be a fanboy, so I'm just going to leave it right there. But I don't want to come across that way. But mad respect, man. Mad respect. And just thank you. Great conversation. And let's not wait another 6 years.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone tuning in. It's been much appreciated. You guys make it possible. Thank you.
You're the best, Rick. Thank you so much, man. Be safe out there. Rick Vooght, everybody, live from the UK. I am your host, Jimmy Church. With that, I'm going to ask the obvious question with what am I doing tomorrow night? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. Oh, tomorrow night, Bigfoot, the science kind. So I'll see everybody tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday. I'll see you for the breaking news and then for Fade to Black. But for now, all I've got is Go Backley Tappy. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Special thanks to Bill, John, Dex, Jessica, Dennis, and Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro, Space Boy. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2024 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Go Backley Tappy.